What's going on, guys? Bladezilla here, and today we've got a special one. We've got something that has been teased by Shirogorov at plenty of shows in the last 6 months or so, and finally is seeing the light of day, and I'm super excited to talk about this one. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a cup of coffee, cold drink, wine, beer, club soda, whatever you're into on that time of the day that's appropriate, and enjoy that, because we've got a very special one for you today to review. Super excited. As a reminder, guys, check out bladezilla.ca, where a lot of the knives featured on this YouTube channel are available for sale. That is my site here in Canada. Lots of good stuff. Just added some Rob Johnsons, some Machine Wise, some Ranger Maids from the shows recently, CCKS and Blade Show, Q95, some Striders, Heretics, Microtech, Titaniums, geez, all kinds of good stuff on there, and obviously Shirogorov's. But yeah, check that out. That is bladezilla.ca for more. But we're not here to talk about Bladezilla. We're here to talk about this stunning and gorgeous knife collaboration from Shirogorov and Charles Marlowe. This is the RKMP. So familiar in its current kind of, I guess, ergonomics and look and appeal and design. I believe this guy obviously is called the KMP or KMP-22 from some other manufacturers. And, you know, a long-time knife maker, I think 25 years in the business. So I don't know what RKMP, but I'm assuming it's the Russian KMP. It's kind of what they like to do with their naming system. So I'm filming this without a data sheet on it. I'm just going into it blind, and that's kind of how I like to do these videos. I don't know if you guys know that in the past. I really like to form an opinion on the knife as I'm kind of going through it and kind of seeing it for the first time together. I just feel it's a little more genuine that way. So I guess where to start on this? Well, we should probably start with some measurements, as I have zero idea how long this guy is, but it feels kind of in that 3.5 inch range, kind of a stellar-ish. The handle's a little longer. We'll see. Let's see what we got here. So overall length, we're coming in at sub 8 inches, and the blade is 3.5 to the center of the choil, or 3 3/8 sharp. So it's definitely in the medium-large category. Handle-wise, we are coming in at 4.5, 4 3/8, somewhere in there, depending on how much effort you give your eyeball. So an excellent size overall. Weight as well, I will get that, because I often leave these things for the last minute, and you know, we're 20 minutes into a video, and all of a sudden I go, oh, what did it weigh again? No clue. So let's get a weight on this, and we'll kind of see. It feels 4 ounce-ish, but who knows? Like I said, I don't have a spec sheet. Just doing it blind. 3.6 and 3.6. So just a hair over the inches to ounces ratio, which is like legit the sweet spot on where you want to be. Woo. Well, where do we start on this design? Where do we start on this knife? Well, if you're a long subscriber to the channel, you'll know that this knife is my jam. And this particular one I will be absolutely keeping in my own collection. Just based on the fact that if you've followed me long enough, you'll know I like plain Jane titanium with some milling and a little bit of rarity factor to it. So this is going to be one that I'm going to definitely hold on to. It's essentially a custom division knife in a collaboration package. So obviously the shape and form factor and design is not a Shirogorov design. They kind of work with that manufacturer, with Charles Marlowe, and kind of work together to come up with the design. And then, you know, the little bits here, like that's a custom division part, that cover, the milling, everything just fits in hand, much like a custom division does. Very snappy as well. I find on the detent they're very snappy. And I believe this one's actually, it comes with roller bearings, which is their custom division bearing system, with a few exceptions, but it is roller bearings, which is awesome. Blade steel on this guy, I believe, is M398. I haven't actually looked at where they're putting that on the knife, but it will be somewhere. It usually is. Is it hiding in here, maybe? Oh, there it is. Can we see that or not? I'll grab my little light. So when I film this, I've got a big dome light above, and it kind of hits the top at certain angles of some lights. So there you go. M398. $3.98 right on the nose there. Beautiful. Nice and hidden. They don't normally hide stuff in there. And that's a new interesting spot. I will take it. Looks great. In terms of in hand, guys, I'm an extra large glove. Keep this in mind. It fits me perfectly. I've got about a half finger left on this guy, and I feel absolutely locked in. It's rare that I have a design that has this kind of finger split after the third finger, and then your fourth kind of falls back onto the handle. You feel immediately locked into this very comfortably. And even this cutout on the show scale, and then the elevated lock bar on this, look how elevated that is and how much your finger just falls onto that lock bar in all the right ways. Oh boy. Very comfortable in hand. Absolutely comfortable in hand. Just fits nicely. No jimping, so for those that like a nice firm grip on the top here, you know, it's quite thin, it's pinched, and then expands out towards the end of the blade. Hopefully the camera can focus on that, and you can see that, but as you can kind of see, expands out to kind of support the tip, and then in the middle, very thin. It's got to be 3.5 or 3 mil stock, quite thin, given it looks like a very thick knife, and it is not at all. Just from the side profile, it looks like it'd be a lot bigger than it kind of is in hand, but to me it feels very Stellar-esque in nature. On the flip side here, I feel like that pocket clip might have a little color to it. It's certainly a different pattern, I'd say. It's got more of a kind of stonewash, maybe a polished stonewash on it. I don't know what they would call that. But it might have something a little bit different on there. Maybe it's a satin flat. It's a little different than the handle, just by hair. Otherwise, I like the kind of natural look of the back of the handle here. We've got some exceptional milling lines hiding underneath that clip too. Quite a short little clip by comparison of Shiro standards. It looks like a little stubby clip. It'd be interesting to see the difference between that and the Stellar. As well, I kind of notice here, is that angled and landed right onto the lock bar, or is it landed onto the shelf of, I can't really tell. I think the clip actually lands on the lock bar, so that's kind of interesting. Different from Shiro in the past. So I'm assuming if I'm holding that clip, yeah, it does not want to open, so it doesn't bevel and angle onto the frame like the Quantums, the F95s. So just keep that in mind. But underneath, it's a masterclass in milling. Oh, just gorgeous. Even all under here, the detail continues underneath that clip, which I believe, yeah, it's attached internally as well. So we'll take a look on the inside of this guy. We've got the serial number underneath the back spacer. This particular one appears to be, is it 59? It's kind of hidden in there, but it looks like 59. Yep, there it is. And ooh, we've got another beautiful centering line. Actually, I'm going to kind of move this here. Got a centering line underneath this back spacer for that blade to sit inside. Oh, just gorgeous. As well, the inside of this knife, completely skeletonized. And one thing that this knife is not doing any justice to, like I said, it's 3D contoured and milled. So the top of this and the sides, they're quite defined and they're rounded down. So it feels, or it looks like it's a lot fatter than it kind of is. And it's certainly not a thick or fat or burly knife. It's just perfect. So we're going to go over lots of these little details. I'm just kind of going through it a little rushed today, just because I'm, trying to take it all in and see what I'm kind of looking at. Ooh, nice. I love the coloring on that back spacer as well, with 3 blue lines down the center. That's a nice little touch. And it appears there's almost another color around the sides. Almost like a bronze kind of colorway in there. Very nice. And then a centering line on the back of the back spacer for that blade to sit in. Once again, totally not needed. But of course, that's what Shirogorov does when things aren't needed. They step up and do it anyway. So, okay. Whew, take a breath. I'm probably 5-10 minutes in. And I guess we'll get into some comparisons. And we'll talk about the knife and see kind of where we feel on this one because I think it's fantastic. But then again, I'm a self-proclaimed and self-admitted Shirogorov whore and love this stuff. So let's kind of start with the normal kind of pieces and we'll kind of go around. So here's a hattie. This is a production hattie from CCKS, I believe. So right away you can kind of see it's quite a bit bigger in theory, I suppose, than this guy. And the handle, I say, is pretty close, but I always try to line them up pivot to pivot. So hopefully that can kind of keep things balanced a little bit. As my chair is sliding around here and I'm looking at a tripod, I try not to bump anything, but anyway, there is a Astrum. That is my 2024 knife of the year. That's the Astrum. I love this thing. Tab lock as well. They've done a couple different variants of this Astrum knife, and I think I've had all of them on the channel. The Sprint Run, the Custom Division version, the first run or first production Astrum Touch. Geez, I think I've had them all. There might be a few. Did I have a blue and a bronze come through? I think I have had the blue and the bronze production knives come through as well. So yeah, lots of cool different options. I still think this is a great knife. And if you're shopping for your first Shiro, this is a good spot because it's a really thin blade, thin knife, long handle, it's a really, really nicely done and highly executed Shiro. We'll get into the F95 Custom Division. This guy is an old school, old run variant from yesteryear. This guy actually has a serial number versus a stepped up serial number in terms of the out of 50, out of 30, etc. This is just a running serial number Custom Division knife, so I think it's around 2017. Super cool, definitely a worn in, and someone carried it at some point, not myself, but as you can see there's some love marks here and there. It's probably due for a spa day. Gorgeous example of a classic old Shiro, but that's your F95. RJ Martin, this is a Russian overkill to go nicely with the Russian KMP, RKMP that is. And this is exactly, why I was saying earlier, like this is the kind of knife I collect. This is the kind of knife I will add to my collection. And here's a prime example of a Russian overkill. They made so many different versions of this knife in the past. 3 different colorways of a micarta called the soft overkill. Obviously the full tie variant in this called the Russian overkill. Then they've got the molten overkill, which is their first magna cut blade, the denim overkill, which is a nice blue kind of micarta inlay, and then the Arctic overkill, which was the first time they had used, I think it was Zlatinox 1019 or something, which is kind of a Damascus LMAX core blade. Really cool, super thin overkill. And I think, was there any others, or is that kind of it? But anyway, super cool knife, roller bearings. Also, I think this guy's M398, but just a throwback to some old school designers, right? RJ Martin, beautifully done design knife. Just don't find them like they used to. This one needs another spa day. I tend to pick up some of these. They need some love on the hardware, and yeah, they end up in my case, and they don't go anywhere because I like them. We'll grab the strip. This is a recent Sinkovich fat strip knife, and this is a big knife. So just keep that in mind. I'm just going to move the camera up just a hair. Keep that in mind that this particular variant of this strip is a very thick knife. So I did a video on this one when it was released a little while ago, and I think it was around an hour. And I raved about it because I just go, it's so different than other Shiro's recent releases because it's a 5mm blade stock, so super, super thick on a small size knife. And they don't have to do that. It just doesn't make sense. It's like the opposite of an Astrum in that it's a long blade on a smaller handle, whereas this is a short blade on a really thick handle, right? You increase the blade stock, the handle's got to go somewhere so it goes wider. So it's just a cool knife. Silky smooth, lots of detail on this one. Comparatively, I would say, to the RKMP, it's just a different collaboration designer, well executed. And they made 3 different variants of this. So the skinny, the fat, which is this, and then the fit. A real version I should probably just maintain on the channel is probably the fit strip because it's more natural to size than anything else. But I just like the fat because it's just chonky and thick, and it's got that big cutout on the blade. Nice audible crack open sound. So it's just a cool knife all the way around, and it's kind of flipped in and it's nice and silky smooth now, so I like to keep it around. But there you go, that is the fat strip. We'll go into some other ones here. We'll go to the Neon. This is a Neon Sprint Run from 2025. Also have done a video on this, also very similarly size-wise, and you'll see why I was talking about some of the kind of highlights of this guy, right? So once again, the custom division pivot point system is found on this, which is not found on many knives. It's only in their premium level trim. So once again, simple done well is just a nicely executed knife, right? Keep it simple, stupid. So we've got the pivot on there. In terms of length, the Neon actually looks to be very similar, if not almost identical length, end to end, very close. A little bit longer blade, maybe 90 mil, maybe this is 85, somewhere in there. It's not that important, but really cool. Still trying to hunt down the custom division variant of this new Neon, which may and has been proving to be a little more difficult than expected. But this guy is a whole other level. Beautiful, beautiful knife. And once again, when I talk about my style, me personally, it doesn't have to be yours, my style, it's exactly this kind of a knife, you know. Well executed, cool milling, plain Jane tie with a little pop-up in the form of that rotating pocket clip system, which is just cool. And if you don't know and it's your first time seeing it, the clip swivels out on kind of a detent ball, and you can clip it into more dress pants, that kind of stuff, suit jackets, without worrying about it. So really cool, really cool. Hard to find these. There's only 30 in the world, and not coming to production anytime soon as far as I know. Let's go to the Stellar. So this is the one I was actually really trying to compare it to before I even shot the video. I'm like, it's got to be Stellar size. And you know what? The Stellar might be a hair bigger. Not by much, but this is a really good example of that, right? So it's more Stellar size than I was expecting. You know, you look at the images of this knife, and I thought it'd be a full-size knife. I thought it was like F95 sized, and it's certainly not. It's more Stellar size. So this is a production Stellar M390. Same kind of thing. I've done videos on all different variants of this knife, from the first production run to, bronze Stellars. I think they had a blue Stellar. I've had some custom division Stellars come through. Sprint run Stellars as well. Really cool, old school kind of now. They feel a little more old school. They made a carbon version of the Stellar called the Stellaris custom division, which is also a really beautiful knife, and one of my friend's all-time favorites. Shout out to Tim. He just loves that knife for some reason. I love it too. But super cool platform. And we're also kind of all wondering, when is the Stellaris going to become production? You know, it's been around now, what, 3 years or so? Maybe even 4. It's been around a while. And just everyone seems to be asking for that knife. And I would put it in the same category as kind of like a carbon scaled Astrum, where you go, it's got to be on their hit list at some point here. But who knows? But anyway, I'm kind of talking all over the place. They also made a Stellar Touch, Sinkovich Touch, which just another absolute stunning one. Beautiful colorway with a nice bronze on there. And yeah, I wish I would have kept one of those. That was a cool knife. Anyway, carrying on, let's get an F95. Speaking of the F95, this is an F95 braces model. And recently released, maybe, what, a couple months ago now? A month ago? This is a throwback knife, right? Thicker blade stock in the 4mm variant, but it's on bronze washers, phosphor bronze washers, instead of multi-row bearings as found on most production knives. There's a little hop up in the detail level, I'd say, as well, in the polished pivot, kind of around this side here. If it wants to focus, come on, stop taking the limelight there, RKMP. So a little bit of detail, more so than a standard production knife. But it's a throwback to kind of an old school Shirogorov, and super cool detail wise. You know, it's an F95 through and through, workhorse knife, and S90V also does not hurt its cause. The adjustable tension system there on the pivot is really nicely done and cool as well. Probably, in my opinion, the coolest knife of 2025 so far. I haven't really thought too much about what my 2025 knife of the year may be, but you know, it's my current front runner. I don't really know how it's not. So there you go. We'll grab a Quantum as well. This is a Quantum Monkey Edge frag pattern from 2, 3, 4 years ago, something like that. It's still on single row bearing system, not their MRBS. So it's more of a traditional bearing system. Really cool knife. I actually often carry this one myself. And you know what? It's just a simple, once again, super simple knife done at a very high level, which is my jam. Let's step things up and go into the Scott Cook. Another recent collaboration knife that they did. This is the Laksa, or the Russian flipping Laksa. Is that what they're calling it? I can't remember. I thought it was like the Russian Laksa, but Russian flipping Laksa. Anyway, did a whole other video on this knife. Super sick, super cool variant, and one that I just think is so cool. You know, it's Shiro's first integral that they've ever done. They say there's 100 of them. I'm kind of in disbelief because I don't feel like there's 100 floating around. They just seem to be locked right up. And also a knife that seems to be, once again, starting to appreciate. When they came out, they doubled in price, I would say, in the 5 to 5,500 USD territory. I think table is a little higher. I think they were 25 or 2,600 or something. A little more than a normal collaboration piece. But I also am a firm believer that they did not release the full batch because I think they had some errors in production. That's my feel. I just get that vibe because, I don't know, I just get that feeling. Super well done knife. Actually, watch that video. One of my favorite knives of all time. Once again, I kept one myself. And what's so cool about this is, you know, you get an internally attached clip on an integral. Integral meaning it's a one-piece titanium made knife. And you just don't see details like that. They've also done some really funky things and kind of how they attach it. You know, it's kind of hidden inside where they do the lanyard, 3D contoured on a phosphor bronze, and silky, silky smooth. The detail works really cool. And they also engraved the serial number kind of on a side angle inside the knife, kind of, which is not anything you normally see on an integral. And the other side of this is it's an integral. So when Shiro does one integral, and this is N of 1, you know, typically it means, well, will there be N of 2 at some point? I don't know. I just think that it makes sense, but who knows? I am also not Shirogorov. What else do we have in the case Shiro-wise that we want to go down? Well, I can do the Q95. It's a knife that I have not had in my collection long enough to show in too many videos, but there's a Q95. Haven't really had the need to show the Q95 too much because up until now it's been an Ursus line and the micarta variants, and then at the recent show they released a batch of 50 of these in a carbon fiber and M390 variant instead of kind of LMAX, and I think it was LMAX, or did they do Chromax? Either way, I added one to my collection as I figured, you know what, I need to have a Q95 in the case as well, just in case. You know, I got to show some variants. This one's super, super slick and cool. The front handle is concave, so it just fits your hand a little differently than the Q95 Ursus line. Really well done. I'm very curious to see what they do with this line as well, because it is still basically a carbon scaled quantum liner lock. And it feels like it's still kind of in its infancy, but who knows where they're going with this knife. I still have one left on the site, I believe. It's not this one, but I still have one, and I don't expect it lasting very long just because there's only 50, and once they're gone, they're gone. And I feel like some of the Sienkiewicz Touchline knives are just some of the most sought after of those knives that they do every year. They're small runs, and they're just special. I will grab an Umnumzon if I can find it on a short leash here, without leaving you guys hanging. So there's an Umnumzon for size comparison, just in case, you know, you're a Chris Reeve guy and want some comparison there. And I'll grab my small Seb, which is also hiding. There you go. Both of these I think are S45 VNs, drop points, which for Chris Reeve, some people are so into the Tanto, some people love the drop points, some people love They're in Singos. For some reason, I like their drop points. I feel like they're really nicely done. And then actually what's it called? The Zeka carabiner for size comparison. I'm just kidding. I just have one beside me. And I feel like when you spend the kind of money you do on these silly carabiners, they got to make a show appearance at some point on the channel. So there you go, the Zeka carabiner, or I think they're calling them the EDC tool. I'll do a video on this, probably won't be more than 5 or 10 minutes at some point. But they're in their prototype stage. There's 30 of these released. I was able to grab a couple of them on secondary market following CCKS, and really cool, kind of, throwback to some of their old design. The jimping language on there kind of looks like the backspacer of an F95. It's kind of got a little, I don't know what you'd call it, a bottle opener-ish kind of thing. Screwdriver. It's a carabiner as well. Kind of cool. I'll do a video on that at some point, but anyway, it's just beside me, and I figured, why not show it while I have it? So I think that might be kind of it from the knife comparison, unless we want to see ProTech knives from the show, which I'm not going to really get into right now. I've got some stuff here that's going to be releasing. I feel like I'm really backed up still from the show and need to get some of this stuff on the site. Notably some ProTechs and some Riot stuff and some Chavez and some Heretic stuff, but nothing too crazy. It's just takes time sometimes. So anyway, I feel like I'm talking in circles. Let's get back to the RKMP. So other than the beautiful size of it, the overall, I'd say medium-large, stellar-esque size, the Shirogorov bear is on that blade. Nicely engraved, not just kind of etched on there. It's kind of a two-tone blade as well. You kind of get that, what would you call that, like a satin flat with the Shiro bear as well. Looks nice. You get this nice pinched-in top with a stone wash on it as well. You get the mirror polished bottom edge, which seems to be on most of the custom divisions and collabs. They've been doing this. Some of the special editions, they've been doing that as well, but it really just shines in the light. Looks beautiful as well, having that mirror polished edge. We get the Marlowe turtle logo on the back here as well. Same fit and finish on the other side, just with that turtle floating around there. That might be a cool picture to take an image of, with kind of contrasting the Shirogorov pivot with a turtle. I think that'd be a nice touch point to kind of see what those look like together. But very nicely done. Very, very nicely done. On the back side here, once again, you kind of have some milling that kind of wraps the whole bottom edge. Nicely lined up on that lock bar as well. Follows all the way down horizontally underneath the clip, which once again, I mentioned earlier in the video, has that kind of almost like a little pop of something to it. I don't know what you'd call it. I'm looking at it under a light, but it looks just a little bit different than the rest. The milling work underneath is also beautiful, kind of continues. And then this is the spot I just think looks so sharp here. There's a lot going on here, and I'll have to look closer with a little more light, or watch the video in 4K to kind of get a better interpretation of it. It looks real sharp, real nice. It is custom division hardware as well, so to open this guy up, you will need the inverse bits. I will show you what that tool looks like, just in case you are curious. They typically offer them at shows. I try to bring them in when I can, but they're just hard to find. And so this is the custom division tool. The tool itself is not anything special. It's obviously nicely done, very fidgety, carbon fiber. I think it has a custom division logo on the top or something, or it used to. Oh no, it does. CD up there. You can kind of just see it hiding there. The main thing is the bit that this thing comes with, and it's the inverse bit that fits that spot on the knife, and that's what's inside here. So if you buy like a cyber tool or a pen tool, you can use this inverse bit in that tool or that pen. It's just they only come with the custom division tool, and that's the problem. So I wish Shiro, if that was on my wish list, I wish they would do more in the tool space, because they've upped production, I feel like, in the last 24 months. And really, the demand has gone sky high for these knives. So much so where the custom division line, they've expanded from 50 knives to 100. And I don't feel like it's really sacrificed the secondary price point, doubling the amount of them available. and they're still $5,000, $6,000 aftermarket. It just baffles me, but the tool side of things, they haven't really done a whole lot with. To me, that's an opportunity for them to kind of do more production-wise, production tools, more pens in that space, pen tools, cyber tools. Like was it called the cyber tool or the cyber? Anyway, it's just an opportunity for them that they can certainly do more with. And I think that would be cool to see more tools. While I'm wishing for things, I also want more neons. I love that knife so much. And I used to have a neon in my case. My wife found it, and all of a sudden she carries a neon. It's just such a great little knife. But now, hey, I've got the Sprint Run neon here, so there you go. Keeping with this, that conversation around the bit, yes, there are workarounds for that. Some people can kind of get away with using like tweezers. I've seen that. They kind of put some tape on there and they can use tweezers. They're not super tight, but it's enough that if you mar it up, you're going to have trouble finding it, finding a replacement, which is just super annoying. The standard tool would work here as well. You could use a screwdriver there. I don't suggest it. I'd like the tool that fits in that slot perfectly, fills up the space, and off you go. So just keep that in mind. And on the other side, this is obviously a dummy cap. Underneath that is a ball bearing that holds that in place from spinning. So it's just kind of a dummy cover, but nicely done and well executed, and very highly milled dummy cover. So beautiful. As I mentioned earlier, on the inside of this, it is running on their roller bearing system, single row roller bearing system, I think. Yeah, single row. And you know what? I'll actually show. I have the COA right here beside me, just to show. Why not? If I'm missing any details. So there you go. M390 blade, handle tie, single row roller bearing system, 2025, and number 59. So there you go. Now I do have one speculation on this knife. Okay, and I just want to make sure there's nothing under this box that I'm missing. Now, just the normal Shiro sticker and a little salt pack or dry pack. I do have a speculation here, guys, because I don't know. I get these knives just like everyone else, and I do have a speculation. So I have been right in the past on a couple speculations. I've also been very, very wrong and not even close. So take that with not a grain of salt, take that with a bag of salt. I'm certainly not one to sit here and try to like pump my own ego, because that's the exact opposite of the kind of person I am in real life. I am married, so I get told otherwise on my own beliefs very often. So speculation time, guys. Grain of salt, bag of salt, speculation time. On this box, and we've got RKMP. Come on, focus, buddy. rkmp-g. What does the G mean? Unless, like I said, I'm not doing this with any information, so I don't know. Perhaps I need to dig further into the release notes. But rkmp-g. What does the G stand for? And when you see that, does that mean there's going to be a different variant without the G, or with something other letter there? Shiro did 3 variants of the strip. When they released that, they just said, here's the strip. It's called the fat strip, and the speculation was, it's fat, so is there a thin? And then they came out with fit. And then fit strip, okay, that's normal. It's very normal proportionately. Okay, then they came out with the skinny. All 3 variants were kind of speculation. I thought there'd be 2 variants, but then they launched the second, which was medium, and then that kind of led my speculation to maybe a thinly milled tie version that was super thin. It ended up being carbon fiber, not tie, but anyway, just the fact that you can kind of gather some information off some of these little hints that they leave behind. So RKMP-G, I don't know, gold maybe, not too sure what the G stands for. But I guess there's a little bit of bronze to this, so it could be something along those lines. I'm just curious to show that box and say, hey, who knows? My speculation. Also, I love the box, how they have this little turtle on there, and the Shiro, that's cool by itself. So my speculation would be based on that, and based on the fact that they've first kind of introduced this knife at Blade Show in the summer, about 3-4 months ago. And this knife is actually very different than that custom version that was launched. I seem to recall the custom version kind of being more rounded around the edges, no milling whatsoever. It was just more hard angles. The basic outline of the knife was identical, but no milling along here. Very nicely done. I know it went for a pretty penny as well. But they also had, I think, a full carbon version. Like a full dress carbon version that kind of went under the radar. And so this is just speculation, right? I don't know if they did anything with it. I don't know if they make these production runs and they're like, okay, let's try it in metal, let's try it in carbon, let's try it in everything in between and see what we get more feedback on. But I feel like they've done a Thai one and they're calling it G, so there's kind of a gold underline, I guess, or goldy bronze. I can kind of see that. Maybe there's another anno variant, rkmp-g. So if it's rkmp-b, because they like blue a lot lately, that would make sense. Maybe like a denim or denim colorway, or maybe the bronze, blue. I just feel like this is too close to natural Thai to do like an actual normal version of Thai, or to step away. It's just too close. If they're calling this a bronze or a gold or whatever, I could see a blue. But then again, now the fact that they had the Blade Show carbon variant of this, now I'm almost questioning myself and going, I wonder if they'll have a skinny or a carbon version. I don't know. I don't know if they would do that, because has Marlowe really done much on the carbon? It seems like he's a little more old school, more titanium kind of style, some inlays. Maybe it'll be like the Molten Overkill version to the Russian Overkill. Maybe it'll be like an inlay, denim or micarta, or that'd be cool too. Like a magnetic, like a carbo tie inlay. This is just me kind of going off on a tangent, guys. I do this often on these longer form videos. I'm sorry if I'm just kind of rambling, but I'm genuinely curious that G on the end, what it stands for, and what it. I need to figure that out. I wish I had the notes on the knife right in front of me, and then I could tell you in advance what that G means. But then I feel like this wouldn't be as genuine, G for genuine. So there you go. I'm not focusing on this at all, and I need to start going back to the knife itself. That backspacer is super well done as well. 3 lines, looks great. Blue anno hiding in there. It's the only place, as far as I know, that has blue anno on this knife. Just a nice little detail inside. And then underneath in the lanyard hole as well, it's very hard blue, I believe. So maybe that's the other spot on blue anno. But inside there, and I'll grab my little light, they've hidden in there like a nice polished blue anno as well. That, once again, it's a detail you don't need to see as a user to this knife. There you go, you can see it there. But it's fully in there. And, I wouldn't have noticed that unless I was trying to find it. It just pops beautifully inside. Was not expecting that at all until I hit it with some light. Nice little detail. That's Shirogorov to a T. And then underneath the backspacer, it is not blue, although the serial number is written in a blue anno. I will say that. That's a cool other little detail that's not needed, but also so cool. And then on the inside of this, I would love to see, there's a guy in the Shirogorov Facebook group, highly recommend joining that group, named James Nugent, I believe. And he takes a lot of these Shiros apart and kind of posts some comparisons and new model, old model. Doesn't really matter. He's a Shiro nerd, knows how to build all this stuff. And it astounds me seeing some of these knives taken apart, how stunning they are internally, and details that you sometimes go, You know, you look at this knife externally, it's fairly plain for our Shirogorov, you know, nice angled mill lines, nice clip, etc., internally attached. Okay, beautiful. But sometimes there's details inside that are just stunning. Where you go, man, like, you really are hiding in plain sight some passionate milling work. So I love that kind of stuff. Let's keep going down the list like we normally do. So I feel like it's kind of got probably a 3 mil, maybe 3.5 mil blade, somewhere in there. We do have a metal lock bar insert, very light lockup as well, internally replaceable. Don't know what material that metal is. It's probably like a tool steel. The key there is that you want it to be the softest of the 3 materials between the handle and the blade, and that material itself, because you want that wearing out first instead of the blade. So just kind of food for thought on that one. The flipper tab, I did want to comment on this. The flipper tab, it feels a little sharp, I would say, compared to some of the more recent knives. So it is forward of center. It is also a very vertical flipper tab. So it's less banked than, say, the F95, and I'll grab that just because that's a real nice, a lot of people know the F95. If I can find it, I gotta start. Okay, there's the F95. See how it's angled very backwards? So in hand, it's very comfortable. They add some jimping to it so it's easier to grab. But just generally pretty easy, pretty accessible, pretty comfortable. This guy, it's very angled forward. It is concave as well. So this top part of it is that's where the roughness, you feel it. You certainly feel it. So just food for thought. For a second there, I was like, did they add anodizing to the middle of that? No, I don't think they did. That would be a nice detail as well if they somehow figured out how to do that. I don't think it's in there, but who knows? So that, you know, it's forward of center. It does kind of click out nicely. They all feel really, really smooth, actually. It's just, you'll notice it. It's a little sharper. Not that that's a bad thing. It's certainly not as sharp as the skinny strip. That seems to be the current gold standard for a sharper knife, just because that blade is so thin. It doesn't really matter the geometry you put on the flipper tab, it just makes it a little harsher to flip. So just keep that in mind. It is concave, it is jimped, it is grippy, it is thin, so that's a good combination for a hard-hitting knife, but also one that is a little sharper. That's all. Nothing crazy. Behind that as well, we do have some very delicate milling to kind of add some beveling behind that flipper tab. Hopefully you can see that there. So it's angled on both sides, front and back. So when you flip it out, it's a little bit softer for your fingers, so you don't get caught on anything there. Just kind of food for thought as well. If I were to change anything on this knife, which, let's be honest, I'm a Shirogorov whore, I'm not changing anything on it. You know, one of the things that just in my own collection I would like to see more of in more manufacturers, I just want longer back spacers. And it's not so much an ergonomic thing or an aesthetic thing. I just think practically it covers the blade. And when you're going in and out of your pocket, pocket lint, coins, keys, Zeica tools, you know, it's just one less thing that can kind of get in there and kind of take away that beautiful mirror edge. But they've made these knives so long now, and that blade is pretty deep in there that it's not really a concern at all. And, you know, it's a collaboration piece. You're not going to go out of your way and change this knife for the sake of, you know, Bladezilla's video. This is a throw, an homage to the maker. It's a Marlowe, you know, it's classic. You know, you look at the angling on the side of this thing. It's very much angling to the back spacer length. Like, that's the whole point of this. So they're not going to change that anytime soon. What else would I change? Well, that's about it. Back to the lanyard hole, once again, maybe this is why I was thinking it was so stellar in nature, is because the lanyard hole is a see-through design. And some people hate that. So this is, I'm critiquing the knife, by the way. So some people hate the see-through design of that lanyard hole. So I'll grab the stellar just to show, once again, they do this on multiple knives. It's not just this one. If I can find it. Geez, my gosh, I need to focus sometimes. So same thing, right? See-through, the Shirogorov, bare just above there. Some people really don't like that. I personally could care less. I really do, could care less. But some people will be like, oh, it's an eyesore versus, you know, the F95s or the, you know, the new versions. They do a couple different versions on how they hide the lanyard hole. So on the sprint run, right, they kind of pop it out of the frame, but it's practical because it extends the handle length by getting that extra couple mils on the blade on the Neon. But on the some of the other ones, so if I go to the Hattie, you know, from the side profile, you're looking at it, and yeah, you know what? You don't see the lanyard hole, right? But then you turn it, and it's kind of built into the back spacer. It's hiding in plain sight a little bit. And this one's copper, so it's kind of cool. And it's kind of getting a little antique-y now, a little darker than it used to be. This thing used to shine, so could probably use a little refresh. But you know, they hide it just a little bit here, and that's cool, right? It's from an aesthetics view, it looks great from the side profile, and then from a practicality point of view, you still have the lanyard hole. So I get it. Some people aren't going to like that. That's fine. To me, it's really not a big deal, and I don't know why I've spent a minute talking about it. But to some people, it will be, you know, something that they bring up. Oh, it's got a big lanyard hole. Yeah, you know, that's the throwback to the design. The other thing is that clip length. Let's grab that stellar one more time. The clip length, just for me, is one thing that I noticed very early. It's a pretty short clip. So if we compare it to a knife of similar size, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. You know, it goes about a quarter of the way, maybe a third of the way up the entire length of the knife, versus the stellar, you're getting a full deep carry clip basically, and it goes, you know, almost to the halfway point, just a little less. So that's one thing. And then once again, it's the design of the knife. I'm not a knife designer, I'm a knife enthusiast. I like seeing cool knives, I like seeing cool things. If you would have made this knife pocket clip longer, well, what would have happened? Well, this would have filled this gap up a little bit more. Maybe it's harder to get in and out. Maybe you have to change the lock bar milling and angle it so that things go in and out of that a little bit easier. Maybe the fact that this pocket clip is leaning on the lock bar itself, if you extend that too far, then you're always going to be holding pressure on the lock bar from your palm. Or to avoid that, maybe you'd have to angle it into the frame, which would change the whole design language of the knife. So these are things that you know, an expert knife maker would absolutely be aware of, like Shirogorov and Charles Marlowe. So I'm assuming it's functional by design, and that's the whole point of it. So that would be kind of, I would say, it. So the lanyard hole, the shorter clip, shorter back spacer, it all kind of works together beautifully well. But you know, it's not an F95, guys. So to me, the F95 is just a gorgeous, well done, well executed knife. This isn't an F95. This is an RKMP. They can do whatever the heck they want with it. I get a lot of vibes of like I get Batman vibes out of this, like the harsh angles, the big curves on it, right? The big sweeping lock bar. It feels like a like a Batman style knife. I really do feel like the hard rises on it. You know, the design language there, right? One on the front under the pivot, that hard rise, the hard rise by the clip. I just get that vibes. You know, hard edge work on the flipper tab. Once again, it's I just get Batman vibes. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's part of it. I don't know. It looks so cool, so functional, so comfortable in hand. When you guys start playing with yours, when they're you'll get it right away. You'll put it in your hand and be like, I feel like my hand sinks into this knife. It really sinks in, quite comfortable. It's a lot thinner than I was expecting, and you look at the knife on paper, it looks like a big, thick, heavy knife. It is not. It's medium size, quite thin in nature. And then the extra angling on the front scale here with the raised lock bar, everything works together in harmony so exceptionally well. as far as I know, and I'd have to look back, I don't think they've worked together in the past on any collaborations as far as I know, or can remember in recent history. So, you know, I would love to see more. I really would love to see more versions of this knife because it's really, really nicely done. I'm just curious what that G means on the box, and if there's going to be another one or another two. You know, fool me once, right? Fool me twice. On the Sienkiewicz collaboration, you know, they came out with that guy, and lo and behold, there's 3 versions of it. I don't see them doing that. I know Sienkiewicz is one of their biggest collaboration pieces, kind of all time. So I don't see them going that deep on this. But depending on demand, you never know. I would just love to see. I'm going to throw a prediction, and like I said, I have 0 feedback, 0. I'm going to throw it and say, if there's a G, I'm saying it's gold or bronze-ish or whatever, and I'm saying they're going to do a blue. It just makes sense. Like that fits. That really fits the mold of what Shirogorov does. I don't see them doing the carbon one just because I know there's a full custom carbon. I just don't see them doing it. I don't know why I think that, but to me, it makes less sense than doing another knife. Maybe they make it a fatter one with a different milling, different blade steel, because M398. It's really cool. Maybe Damascus, I don't know. No, they wouldn't do that. They keep it satin, I think. I'm very curious. This is what bothers me. This is why these videos ramble on for 45 minutes, because the speculation is like almost half the fun, because Shiro is so tight-lipped with like the inner group that they have in their business, and they release zero inside information, which is so cool. And then all of a sudden, you know, a neon will show up or a neon will drop, and you're like, whoa, where did the Sprint Run neon come from? There hasn't been any leaks, there hasn't been any intel, there hasn't been any Instagram, or it just all of a sudden, yeah, we did a new neon. You're like, what? So this knife is kind of the exception, because they literally were showing full custom versions at Blade Show and in a couple different configurations. And you know, now there's just speculation on what does that G mean, and what does, you know, changing that letter do for the design. I think it's going to be RKMP, you know, in this almost configuration, just a little differently. I think that if I'm looking at this and going, yeah, you know what, a denim version of this would be pretty darn cool. Blue ano, that would be pretty darn cool. You know, carbon version also would be pretty amazing, but milling carbon like this, I don't know if it would work as well. I just don't know if it would work as well or the same. It's already super thin and some hard angles on it. I don't know if it would be as cool, but hey, prove me wrong, right? That's what Shiro does all the time, and I just think it's so cool. So I'm going to stamp my guess on, you know, possibly another one. Don't know what it is. Maybe bigger, maybe smaller. Maybe it'll be just enough different that it's not going to be the same knife. So that would be pretty darn cool. Well, I think on that note, I'm going to kind of wrap up on my guess, wrap up on some of my speculation, wrap up on the video. I think this knife is super sick, well done, well executed, and overall way better than I was expecting by 1.5 miles. I think these are going to be absolutely hot. 150, guys, of these are going to be released or have been released. They're going to be split between, obviously, North America and the European kind of area. So who knows how many made it over here? Who knows how many are overseas? They're going to be hard to find, just like any of the collaboration pieces from Sienkiewicz, from RJ Martin, from any of them. They're going to be very hot. So I'm grabbing this one. This one's going in my case. I had to show you guys, do a video on it, because I just think they're so well done, and so beautiful, and so worthy of that brown box collaboration logo. Just well done, Shiro. Congratulations on a nicely done and executed knife. I'm so impressed. As a reminder, guys, check out TikTok, check out Bladezilla.ca, where a lot of the knives featured on this YouTube channel will be available for sale. or this particular one definitely won't be, but I'll do my best to grab, you know, one or two if they pop up on the secondary, and try to shuffle those around as much as I can, just because I want to get a couple more of these into Canada. And then yeah, TikTok, you're on YouTube, throw a thumbs up on the video. It helps the channel. Every Monday and Thursday, 7 a.m. Eastern. Unless I'm releasing a big video, then I'll usually push Mondays to Tuesday morning, which is a nice little tell. If there's a missed Monday video, you'd be like, oh, something's dropping tomorrow. And then, yeah, so TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Instagram, pretty accessible. So hit me up if you have any questions on any of this stuff. Love talking blades, love chatting with you guys. It's honestly half the fun of this entire thing. So otherwise, appreciate you stopping by and checking out this gorgeous RKMP from Shirogorov and Charles Marlowe. Just stunning knife, and definitely worthy of the investment level status on these collaboration pieces. So glad you guys got to check it out. What are your thoughts on the knife? Leave them below. Otherwise, we will catch you on the next one soon enough. Thanks, guys. Peace.